should be played at high volume, preferably in a residential.
What is going on, Fantasy and Frames family? You thought we had abandoned you in week 18? Well, some of you might have been right about that, but we said, no, we're not going to abandon you. We know that there are people out there who still play week 18 fantasy football.
Maybe I can't do that right now.
Is it a very popular way to play? No. But we do know that some commissioners still allow you, or require you rather, to play. So here we are. Fantasy and Frames is Fourth and Frames podcast, the longest running podcast here on the Fantasy and Frames podcast network. I'm your host, Jorge. Got me this week with Drew, Rhett, and Aiden. Rhett, let's start with you. How you doing today, man?
Oh, man, I'm blessed. It was a good new year. Like I told you pre-show, my wife and I queued up Forrest Gump at a very exact time, 10:38 and 57 seconds. And we struck in the new year right as the time they counted down 3, 2, 1 on the New Year's scene with Forrest Gump and Lieutenant Dan. So you know what? It was a good time. Love that movie. One of the best ever. And still immensely quotable and still makes me laugh out loud every time I watch it. It's so good.
Did you Google that ahead of time? Like start the movie at this time to get to the New Year's scene at that time?
That's entirely my wife's work. You're gonna have to ask her where she found this information. But I just rolled with it and it was a good time. So happy to be here.
Awesome. That's awesome. Drew, what's going on, brother? How are you, man? How was your New Year's?
Not quite as exciting as Rhett's. My whole family was asleep by well before I tried to stay up, and so I just laid in bed and watched old reruns of MasterChef while I watched the clock tick away. And then the one tradition I do have is I go over and give my wife a kiss right at midnight, to ring in the new year. So Whit did that, got right back in bed, and then I was out probably within 5 or 10 minutes.
Very nice, very nice. To the young man who says he is a huge Seinfeld fan,
correct,
but doesn't get Forrest Gump references.
No, I get the references. I've just never seen it.
Okay, even worse.
Oh my God.
Aiden Weingartner, how are you doing tonight, man? How was your New Year's?
It was great. Just stayed back with my family. I stayed up to 3 a.m. to watch the Stranger Things finale, but it was worth it, and I'm here still. So yeah.
Yeah, no spoilers. I thought it was great.
Yeah, we talked, but yeah.
Yeah.
Where'd you find this guy who just hasn't seen Forrest Gump or most pop culture not made before the year 2015? I don't know. Where'd you find him? Send him back. I'm done with him.
Back to where? Well, I have nowhere to go back to.
Yeah, I'll have to be more. I'll have to be more strict with what we're looking for options.
More discerning for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Rhett will help you put together some screening questions to ask the next.
Have you watched at least one 1990s movie?
I would love for Rhett to put together a criteria checklist of do you meet this one? Nope.
Get out.
No, guys, I literally I love. So here's the thing. I love doing mixology things, like making drinks and just experimenting with this and that together. How does it taste? Yada yada yada. And so on New Year's, I always have a top 3 that I make for the evening, and I make them in large quantities. And I'm let's have a great time, everybody. But everybody is just always my wife and I, and she's not a huge drinker, so it's mostly me consuming all this. And so
that's okay.
And the baby this year.
Yeah, well, the baby. Well,
did he make it?
No, he went to sleep around 8:30, so we made sure he was out. But so I'm making all these different drinks, and this is the first year that my wife was you know what, let me actually go toe to toe with you. And I'm this is a bad idea on your part.
Oh boy.
I'm just saying this now. She's and I said to her, I'm not going to say you're wrong, because God forbid that the husband ever says the wife is wrong, but this is probably not the best idea for you. I'll get the water and Gatorade ready. But she hung in there. We went on our YouTube TV, and we were watching these trivia games, finish the movie quote or finish the song lyric. And if we got one wrong, if we got one wrong, then you take a drink, that type of thing.
Oh,
so,
nice.
Sounds like a great night.
It was a lot of fun. And then we caught the ball drop and all that. And apparently, though, while we were doing these games, we missed out on 50 Cent, just like throwing it back to the 2000s on the Dick Clark New Year's Eve show.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
I've been catching up recently. I'm just like, oh my God, this is amazing.
I think that's like the only channel that Diddy gets in jail, so he got to watch a 50 concert.
Is that legit? Is that
I don't know.
But yeah, folks, so we hope you all had a great New Year's Eve, and we appreciate you all who are tuning in now, and we appreciate you all who are playing fantasy football in Week 18. This is one of our passions, fantasy football, that is, and we couldn't let you go without giving you some information that's going to help you win your championships in Week 18. And folks, don't forget to head over to fantasyandframes.com. In the off season, we got our dynasty content up and running. Aiden, your article on the very first Superflex mock draft that you conducted is already over 1,000 views. It's really been picking up pace here. Congratulations. Just a lot of great stuff coming your way. Got Jamie in the chat. Let's go. Happy New Year's, fellas. Happy New Year's to you, Jamie.
Happy New Year, Jamie.
Aiden, you and Joe Harlow and myself are going to be running up Dynasty content this year. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, we're gearing up. We're doing our research. We're looking at prospects. And next thing you know, we're going to be doing prospect analysis and rookies and startups and just all sorts of awesome stuff at fantasyandframes.com. So definitely check that out. Keep tabs on all of our socials, whether it's on TikTok, Instagram, here on YouTube, or on X. We just got a lot of stuff coming out your way. We're not taking any time off, folks. There's no off season. There's no off season in fantasy football. And you all, if I may say so, are lucky because we love this stuff. We love this stuff. We never want to stop talking about this stuff. There's always stuff to talk about, and there's always ways we can help you win your fantasy leagues, whether they're redraft or dynasty. So
true diehards.
True diehards. We're locked in for you. But as we do every week here on Fourth and Frames, we're going to give you some smash and pass options here. Each of these gentlemen are. Before we get into that, let's go over some of our check-ins for how everyone has been doing so far this season for accountability, because accountability is everything in fantasy football, and we take that seriously here at Fantasy and Frames and on Fourth and Frames here. So the check-in on the season, Nate Markham, who couldn't make it here tonight, we wish him and his wife Carrie and their new dog Mary a very happy new year. He finishes the season on a 49% accuracy hit rate. Kyle was 51% on the season. Drew holding it steady, holding it strong at 60%. That was awesome, and that's with missing last week too. That's the crazy part. That is congratulations to you. And Rhett went 2 for 3 last week, 75% on the season. Gentlemen,
crushing it. We should have had you doing this with us all year, man. Because I know every week whenever we try to give Rhett his flowers, he's like, "Oh, but it's a small sample." But I mean, it's like 6 weeks now. I think he's done this, and every week he's going 2 for 3.
Most of our misses are AD Mitchell too. So screw that guy.
That's what happened. Yeah.
So you know what, to you, man, you might not have been doing it from the start of the year, but since you jumped in and started doing it with us, you've been crushing it. So kudos to you.
You know what? You still got to hit in order to get them right and to get it to count. And
you got to have misses with the hits.
I mean, that naturally will happen, but gentlemen, just great job this year. The fantasy managers out there who are watching, who have been watching, I can guarantee you appreciate all the hard work and research you put into it, because there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. We do this for fun. We like having fun doing this, but make no mistake about it. For those who are aspiring content creators out there, you will be putting in work. Hours and time will be put into helping to help other people have fun playing fantasy football and succeed at playing fantasy football.
Worth it.
But definitely 100% worth it. We got Albert in the chat. What's going on, Albert?
What's up, Albert?
Happy New Year to you as well. Gentlemen, shall we get into some smash or pass for week 18? All right.
Let's get it.
All right, let's do some smash plays here. And, of course, we're going to be going off of Fantasy Pros' Week 18 expert consensus rankings, where for smash plays at quarterback, we're looking outside the top 12, at running back outside the top 15, for wide receivers outside the top 20, and for tight ends outside the top 10. So without further ado, age before beauty, Aiden, who is your smash play this week for week 18?
So first of all, I don't know if that's a compliment, but second of all, I have currently listed at ECR tight end 11 on Fantasy Pros, going up at the Las Vegas Raiders this weekend. I got Travis Kelce of the Kansas City Chiefs at the tight end position. I know he has Chris Oludokun as QB for this week specifically, just like last week. But hear me out here, guys. This is very likely Travis Kelce's last career game in the NFL before he retires. I know he says, I haven't made up my mind yet, but you've seen him out there. I think he's got to retire. So that's number one. Because of that, I think Andy Reid's going to have specially designed plays just for him. And really, he's the only one that they can move the ball with. No Tyquan Thornton on IR, no Rashee Rice on IR. And with a quarterback like Chris Oludokun, I mean, come on. He's going to have to get the ball out of his hands very, very quickly. Even though the Chiefs are checked out at this point, I like Travis Kelce going off on the quote-unquote send-off game with Andy Reid before he does retire. And they have no running game, just like they haven't all year. Kareem Hunt, Rashard Smith, Isaiah Pacheco, that whole mess. They have no running game to speak of. So I do like Travis Kelce, even with the gross QB situation on paper. My main thing is he's about to retire. He's literally the only weapon. And if they're going to move the ball, I mean, they're still the Chiefs. Andy Reid still has pride. He's going to want to beat a division rival in the Raiders. The Raiders are very low defense, one of the worst units defensively in probably every metric you look at. So I'm going with Travis Kelce going up against the Raiders this weekend.
So you guys, remember watching last week's game versus the Broncos in the 2-minute drill for the Kansas City Chiefs? It was basically Travis Kelce.
That's I thought it would go.
And it's one of those things where it's like, is that going to be like all game long this week versus the Raiders?
Yes.
Like I could just anticipate that being the way they send him off here.
Love it. I can see that. And I mean, the Raiders, they've been the 12th best matchup over the last 5 weeks, and that would be even higher. But the Giants didn't really get anything out of the tight end position last week. But Dalton Schultz had a good game against the Raiders in week 16. Dallas Goedert had a good game against the Raiders in week 15. So the Raiders have given up plenty to the tight end position over the last 5 weeks. So, even though Tip might not want us to say anything too bad about his Raiders,
that's my guy.
At least against the tight end position, it looks like they can be beat. Now, do you guys really think that Kelce's going to call it a career after this year?
He can't even run routes anymore. He just goes out there, runs, turns around.
I'm not disagreeing with you that he doesn't look the best out there, but something about the way Travis Kelce is. I just don't know if he's going to be cool with going out like this. Like he's had so much success across his career, and now he's going to call it quits in the Chiefs' worst year during this entire dynasty. Like,
you think it's bad now, though? Like Mahomes ain't coming back at the start of the season, right?
He might miss the first few weeks of the year. I think Mahomes will be there for the large majority of the season. Like, I don't think it'll be enough to tank the Chiefs' playoff chances next year or anything like that.
He did go around to all the fans last week, though, and basically a farewell tour around the stadium afterwards.
Yeah, the play on the field definitely, I would agree with you. I don't know. I just Travis Kelce's one of those few NFL players that gives us a really good look into who he is as a person, and I'd be kind of surprised to see him go out like that. I'd selfishly, I'd be kind of sad to see him go out like that. But to your point, Aiden, the play on the field might constitute it needing to be that way.
Even if there's a potential for him to retire, I still had him as a smash play just because even if he hasn't decided, he wants his last impression to go out on top to be a good one.
Yeah, and like Brandon said, the Chiefs might suck right now, but the Raiders really don't want to win. So, yeah, I think Kelce probably won't experience a lot of pushback this week, if I had to guess.
Yeah, it's a very interesting situation here, and I think if I'm Travis Kelce, it is all tied to Mahomes. To be honest with you, if you're hoping for a full season of Patrick Mahomes as your send off, well, that's 2 seasons away. You know what I mean?
Not going to happen.
How much longer are you going to be playing? Tip in the chat saying, of course, be nice to talk about my Raiders. Thank you very much for being a guest here on Fourth and Frames earlier, or I should say in 2025. It was awesome having you on. I believe it was the NFC West preview. You guys had him on. And it was great running into him at the Fantasy Football Expo where I had a popsicle stick cut out of Brett Manuel's head in my pocket. I was walking around, and as soon as he saw me, I was he recognizes right there.
We drafted together Scott Fishbowl this year in Houston. So same table, same division. We had a good time. He was actually real mad at me for 3 rounds, and I took Patrick Mahomes right in his nose. Yeah. 1 pick away. I sniped him, and he was pretty bad, but he kept a nice he kept a good face. He kept a good game face on. So nothing but good things to say about Tip. What a dude. For the most part, yeah, Mahomes had the year he did. So, I mean, sure.
All right, Drew, let's get to your smash play for the week. And this is somebody that we've been talking about for weeks on all the shows. And I feel like this is a good opportunity for him this week. Who you got?
Yeah, look, and I'll be the first. I'll be the first person to say that I thought the 10 targets that Parker Washington saw 2 weeks ago against Denver was just a mirage. It was mostly I thought it was mostly due to how difficult it is to attack Denver on the boundaries. Like their outside corners are just so good that it was kind of expected going into that Denver game that the slot receiver, the tight end, was going to need to get some additional work. And I even last week, Jorge, you hosted the show. We talked about Parker Washington a little bit, and you were making the case for why he could be a good play this past week against Indy. I pushed back a little bit because of how good Kenny Moore has been against slot receivers. And lo and behold, Parker Washington had another 10 targets last week that he turned into 8 receptions for 115 yards. So despite my concerns of the matchup, he had another really strong game. Over the last 2 weeks now, he has a combined 14 receptions for 260 yards on 20 targets. It's crazy. Like he had been virtually non-existent since the trade deadline whenever the Jags traded for Jacoby Myers. Like he was pretty involved earlier in the season. They were dealing with injuries to Brian Thomas Jr. Their receiving core was beat up, Travis Hunter injuries, all that stuff. And then post-trade deadline, they get Jacoby Myers, and he just kind of disappears until 2 weeks ago, where he just now all of a sudden for the last 2 weeks he's been a walking 10 targets. And I don't know what's been going on with that. I don't understand it, but it is what it is. It's the cards we've been dealt, and now I pushed back on the matchup last week. I have nothing bad to say about the matchup this week because the Titans have been the 10th best matchup over the last 5 weeks based on schedule-adjusted fantasy points given up to the wide receiver position, and they've given up the 11th most fantasy points per game to slot wide receivers over the last 6 weeks. And then if that's not good enough for you, Washington's primary slot defender should be Kemen Hall, who is giving up a league-high 0.50 fantasy points per route run. Now, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit nervous about Parker Washington's targets just randomly falling back off of a cliff again, because we've already seen it happen once this year, given the amount of weapons that are at Trevor Lawrence's disposal. But he's been a huge part of the game plan for the last 2 weeks. And this week's matchup, I can't see any reason for them to go away from that. So it's tough because BTJ is there and Jacoby Myers is there. Brenton Strange is still there. Travis Etienne's involved. But Parker Washington has had an incredible 2 weeks, and now here we are, week 18. He's got about as ideal of a matchup a slot receiver can have. So given the matchup, his recent involvement in the Jags passing attack, Parker Washington is a smash for me this week, and I think he's a solid wide receiver too. I got him inside. He's wide receiver 20 for me, I believe.
Very nice, very nice. We got Tip in the chat again saying, tighten up. Where's Kyle? Where's Kyle Ziegler? When we need him?
Somebody is finally showing love to the Titans, and Kyle isn't here.
Conveniently, he's not. The one time.
He's good for him though. He's in freaking Cancun, so I think he's just fine where he's at.
Yeah,
I think he's meeting the Titans down there in Cancun. Yeah. I think that's what it was.
He's meeting Cam Ward and maybe he'll find their new coach down there somewhere. I don't know.
Tip, if you're watching, check your DMs on the good old Twitter machine /X. Sent you something your way. All right. Rhett, your thoughts on Parker Washington here? Like, to Drew's point and what he said at the beginning of his discussion, like we were all thinking this is just the Surtain avoidance situation versus Denver, and then he goes ahead and keeps on the momentum going. Really, whenever he's been on the field for the Jacksonville Jaguars, has been super efficient and productive. You all on board this matchup versus Tennessee?
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen with Tennessee throughout the year that they've been pretty generous to every position except tight ends for the most part. So, I mean, I'm with the Parker Washington play for sure. And I think this is probably another good time as any. Guys, like Jorge said, we're all about accountability here at Fantasy and Frames. I believe that I was as vocal as anyone in banging the drum of Trevor Lawrence being absolutely terrible. And now here I am looking at week 18 and him having the fourth best MVP odds in the league. I mean, listen, a zebra don't change his stripes. So you're going to have a hard time convincing me to say that Trevor Lawrence is elite. But I will say that with the coaching situation and having somebody who is competent calling offense, it certainly has helped him out. So good for Trevor Lawrence. I say fire Park Washington, like he said. I mean, slot has been a strong couple weeks for him. So let's play that with confidence this week. Why not?
Yeah, and like you mentioned, them being beatable in a lot of different areas. One thing Tennessee has going for them is they're a pretty tough run defense. And so they have been more of a pass funnel recently, which is, I think, even Parker Washington aside, just a reason to be more bullish on the Jags passing offense. And this doesn't really have anything to do fantasy-wise, Red, but I think it's an interesting conversation to have about the quarterback position in general. And I'm just kind of curious to get your guys' thoughts on this. I think the gap that separates like the 10th best quarterback from the 20th best quarterback, I don't think those guys are as far away from each other as we realize sometimes. I think sometimes the importance of scheme and offensive line and your play caller, head coach, or offensive coordinator, whoever it is calling plays for you, I think a lot of that really gets overlooked sometimes. And we just focus on the quarterback, which that's the nature of the game. The quarterback's the most important position on the field. They get all the credit. They get all the blame. I get all that. But like Trevor Lawrence is an interesting study of it. Daniel Jones is another one, with his resurgence in Indy. And there's a lot of quarterbacks that get left for dead, and then they get put in the hands of an offensive play caller that actually knows what he's doing. And then, wow, it's like this guy actually might know how to play some football. And it's just like there's the quarterbacks at the top of the food chain, right? That it doesn't matter what you put around them, anything like that, who the coaches are, whatever. They're going to make everything around them better. And those are slim to none. Like that's what franchises are looking for. But I think those guys in the middle, I think the gap between them is a lot smaller than we realize sometimes, and some of them just aren't in the right situation. And I think Trevor Lawrence is a perfect example of that, between Urban Meyer and then Doug Peterson and and all that. Like I think that he got the short end of the stick in terms of coaching for his entire career up to this point.
It's funny. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rhett.
No, I was just gonna make the joke. Yes, Drew. If what you're trying to say is yes, I do agree that Tyler Show could be equally productive with Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams and Matthew Stafford.
That's exactly
absolutely.
No, Matthew Stafford's in that group I was talking about that uplifts everybody.
Yeah. And Josh Allen.
Yeah, Josh Allen's one of those guys. Absolutely.
Not to mention, not just from like a real football play standpoint, as far as what separates quarterback A, B, or C. When you're looking at like fantasy points per game, it's very interesting how quarterbacks are clustered in when it comes to their averages. You look at the top 5 quarterbacks with Allen on the season, that is Allen, Purdy, May, Mahomes, Stafford. Those are all the above 20 points per game quarterbacks, right? So then we go from T-Law 19.7 to Bo Nix, so 6 through 10. You're talking about quarterbacks who are averaging 19 and 18 fantasy points per game. Then the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quarterbacks after that are averaging in the 17s. And then after that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are in the 16s. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's very interesting, like what a coaching change or a philosophy change can do to just jump you up, or maybe it doesn't jump you up as much as you think. How often do we see a situation where you have a quarterback? And I know we were just talking about Trevor Lawrence because that's probably one of the ones that are not happening as often. Go from being a 16 or 17 point per game quarterback to being an 18 or 19 point per game quarterback. You know what I mean?
Right.
It makes you wonder, like, how far. Maybe we'll do an article on this where we're looking at like how does scheme change in quarterback performance from year to year, or position performance from year to year. I just found that clustering a little bit interesting as we have gotten so far this season.
Sam Darnold, not only that, to get going, or a while to get going.
It's a good example too.
Yeah,
it's a good example.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these guys, I think it's an underrated aspect of evaluating fantasy quarterbacks. You're gonna have a hard time convincing me. Even if and I don't have the data in front of me, but I feel like teams that play at faster plays per minute, pace of play, player profiling does a great job in their free content of looking at these things. So we're looking at there, and all of a sudden you look at guys who are playing faster, you get more bites of the apple. It's a good chance to rack up more fantasy points. And well.
You ask and you shall receive, my friends. Happy New Year. What's going on?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thanks for jumping on, man.
Yeah, man.
great.
George said it. He's like, he called me at a good time. I was like, yeah, I was just chilling, man. So yeah.
Well, no, man. We like you said a few minutes ago, it was really great having you on and back for the
Oh
NSP
man,
last.
look, dude. Like, I mean, you know, I love you guys, man, and you know, I was on with Stacy as well. You know, I love Stacy. Like, you guys do it right, man, and when you're doing it right, like, you got to be a part of it, you know. So,
Appreciate
like,
it.
yeah, man. Like, you guys are crushing it, man. So, and you know, I like talking ball with you guys for sure. Don't mean we always have to agree, and you know, doesn't mean that, you know, Rhett sniped me and pissed me off at the Scott Fish Bowl. But, you know,
Love you, bud. Love you, bud.
It is what it is.
So what I'm hearing is that you like how they go about doing things, but when it comes to draft strategy, when they're drafting against you, to maybe be on a different wavelength, so Rhett doesn't have to
sometimes he goes and he's looked at. He's like, maybe these guys should be less prepared. Like, maybe that's what you're trying to tell me right now, huh?
Nah, man. You know, I think we were all on the same wavelength, like, as far as from what I could tell during that time, and I think at that point everybody was looking like, okay, we didn't really know how the Scott Fish Bowl rules or, you know, points was going to go, but we knew that a quarterback was going to be important. It didn't turn out to be, as at least on my team, too important, but yeah, man, I really wanted Mahomes right there, man. I really wanted him. And when he got him, dude, I was just like, oh, man.
He walked away from the table, presumably
dude,
not to punch me in the face.
No, there was a couple of expletives shouted out. And, yeah, for sure. Yeah, but that's the beautiful thing about football, fantasy football, is like that happens, man. I love that part of it. But yeah.
Well, maybe let's see if you love this take right here coming from Rhett for one of his smash plays for Week 18. Rhett, why don't you tell a tip and the fantasy fans out there who you're rolling with in Week 18?
Oh, so much pressure. First off, now that you bring one of my personal favorite people into space, like, yeah, you better damn well be right, Manuel, and I mean it. But nah, man, we're sitting here last week, and Aiden's go Javonte Williams sustains an injury last week. He didn't practice on Thursday. And so, like, I'm sitting here. The New York Giants are bad. Malik Davis is coming off of a hell of a game. He had 20 carries, 103 yards. Yeah. He's the ECR 19, running back 19 this week. Why the heck not fire up Malik Davis? Because in my mind, we're not chasing vibes. We're chasing math. We're chasing value. We're chasing somebody who's going to have a fantastic opportunity to produce against a bad defense this week. I mean, first off, you look at this matchup, it checks off a lot of boxes. The Giants are in the bottom 10 in rushing EPA allowed and bottom 5 in yards allowed after contact over the past month. They're not just tackling bad. This scheme just isn't very good right now. Like, they're looking for a new coach. Everything's kind of off the rails. And Dallas as well, we know what that offense is. We know they're looking for Pickens. We know they're looking for Lamb. But at the same time, they've done a good job creating in the running game and creating opportunities, even if it hasn't always been explosive. They are top 10 in red zone chips per game. And Malik Davis at times has seen some goal line snaps this year. He has a couple rushing touchdowns. With Malik Davis, yeah, he had 20 carries last week. He's probably not doing that again this week. But if he is the guy in that offense and he's seeing those goal line snaps, we don't need 20 carries to produce. We just need some sort of touchdown equity to return where he's going right now. And for me, the Giants also allow one of the highest running back target shares in a neutral game script. Now, Malik Davis is not a classic pass catcher per se, so he's not going to get a lot of those touches. But even in a half PPR format, if he ends up getting 3-4 targets, catches a couple of those, adds 17, 18 yards to his profile, you're picking up there, and that's just another solid little place to bring everything together. So at the end of the day, this is a solid environment play for him this week. He should have the role, presuming Javonte Williams doesn't play. Dallas should control the pace, which means those carries should go up. Malik Davis, at minimum, probably has a 15 opportunity path this week with some touchdown upside. And really, if you're looking at a Week 18 championship game and he's an RB2 or a flex in your lineup, that's really all you need.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Like in terms of I think he has a safe floor because he should be involved. The only thing that concerns me from an upside standpoint is that the Giants' run defense, to their credit, has been pretty good recently. They've been the 10th best matchup for fantasy running backs over the last 5 weeks. They've been more of a pass funnel defense, and Lord knows the Cowboys are more than happy to pass the ball whenever they need to. But to your point, the Giants probably aren't going to put up a huge fight. So which should lead to plenty of let's run out the clock type of touches, and Malik Davis should give you a solid floor off of that standpoint. So like you said, whenever we're talking about Week 18
Yeah.
RB2s, sign me up.
So, Tip, I want to ask you a philosophy question here for Week 18, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know, are starters in or starters out? Are they playing a half? Are they playing a full game? Like there's so many variables to take into consideration when you're trying to assemble your lineup for Week 18. We like to talk about plays and fades. We like to talk about, tempering your expectations or elevating your expectations depending on matchups and performance trends. Is this the type of matchup here in Week 18 where fantasy managers should be like, aim for the floor and be pleasantly surprised if you get ceiling? Or is there potential that you could have a Malik Davis situation where he could inherit a lot of touches and you can kind of anticipate more of a ceiling play than a floor play?
Yeah, it's tricky. Week 18 is so tricky. That's why a lot of people don't do it. But for some of us who like to do it, it's one of those situations where you get these unsung heroes. You get these players that come out of nowhere. You get a guy like, what was that kid from the Dolphins last week? Theo Worse or something. I was like number 81. I was like, who is this dude? Like that's what happens at this time of the season. And I like the Malik Davis call, excuse me. But the thing I'm just concerned about him missing practice today. At this point, you got Lepke there. He's been in the backfield doing some stuff. You got Javonte Williams, Jaden Blue. He looks like he at least doesn't have a questionable tag next to him. So it could be anybody, man. It could be, but I think that they're going to throw the ball. That's what they've been doing most of the season. Although they've been pretty balanced on the running side, but they that's what they came into the season knowing that in order for them to at least win some games, they got to throw the ball. And that's what they've been doing. And but as far as the standpoint from Week 18, man, you got to try to find those unsung heroes, those diamond in the rough, those Malik Davis, those type of players, those guys who may have some high upside next year, but the teams or the coaches want to see what they got this year. And one player for me is Ephraim Chisholm the third. Like, we saw what he did last week, right? 2 catches, 40 yards, and a touchdown. Like, that's not a lot. That's not, when you look at it, you're like, that's really not that impressive. But we know Josh McDaniels. He likes to use the slot, especially in a successful offense. So my thing is, why not go ahead and slot him in if you got if you got a Patriots wide receiver like Stephon Diggs? Like, come on, Stephon Diggs may play the first quarter. He may not play any at all. He may play the second quarter, not the second half. You don't want to put yourself in that predicament. They're already down a few wide receivers anyway. So, like, get a guy like that on your team. And I think, shoot for the upside that, hey, maybe he gets another 40 yards and maybe he gets in the end zone because they're going to utilize players like that this week.
I love it. To round out our smash plays for this week, Aiden has Travis Kelce at ECR tight end 12, Drew with Parker Washington at ECR wide receiver 24, and Rhett with Malik Davis, ECR running back 19. Let's get into some of our pass plays here, guys. When we're talking about pass plays, we're looking at players inside the top 15 at quarterbacks that we're not expecting to meet their ECR ranking. Running backs inside the top 20, wide receivers within the top 35, and tight ends within the top 12. And so, Rhett, let's go in reverse order. You know what? Screw reverse order, screw forward order. We're gonna go just different order. And Drew, why don't you start us off this week as far as your pass play for week 18?
Yeah, it's a perfect guy for this week because Rhett and I have both made Adonai Mitchell a smash play at different points this year. Since he's been traded to the Jets. And he failed both of us. Both times that we tried to call AD Mitchell a smash play, he killed us both. And so the only way to make this thing right has to be to make him a pass play for the last week of the season. This is the last chance to get my get back, so I'm here to get it. Look, this call is only going to work in one of two ways. Mitchell is either going to make me look like a genius, or he's going to make me look like a fool once again, but just in the opposite direction. Because he is the definition of boomer bust since he got traded to the Jets at the deadline. He's had 2 games where he finished as the wide receiver 6 and the wide receiver 15, 2 solid games. Outside of that, all of his 5 other games, he's been outside of the top 45 receivers, and then 3 of those 5 weeks, he's been outside of the top 60 receivers. So he either just crushes or he just isn't a part of the game. And look, if Mitchell's going to make me look bad this week, he's going to have to overcome a pretty difficult matchup. The Bills have been the 3rd most difficult matchup over the last 5 weeks based on schedule-adjusted fantasy points given up to the wide receiver position. And they're giving up the 2nd lowest fantasy points per game to outside wide receivers, which is where AD Mitchell lines up for the large majority of his snaps. But the one concern I do have is that the Bills are expected – they're one of the teams that are expected to rest their starters. And so it's tough to know who's going to be lining up against AD Mitchell on a snap-by-snap basis. And a big reason why the Bills have been so good is because Tre'Davious White and Christian Benford have been playing such strong ball for the outside corners. So I don't know how many, if any, snaps they'll play, and Aiden can shed some light on that for us in a little bit too. But starters aside, a big reason why I'm off Mitchell this week is he's one of those guys where, depending on the coverage the team plays, you can kind of pick out where his spike weeks might be coming from, because he is a superstar against single high coverage, like blows it out of the water. But as soon as you put him in outside of single high, he starts to struggle. So against too high looks, which Mitchell should see plenty of this week. The Bills run too high. I think the 2nd highest rate in the league. He's 67th among pass catchers that have run at least 200 routes with 1.5 yards per route run. And then on the flip side of that, the Bills run single high at the 2nd lowest rate. And so the coverage that you would want for AD Mitchell, typically, it's not going to be there. And so players be damned, the scheme looks aren't going to be what you want for AD Mitchell in this game. And it's just like in week 18, I know we're talking about the floor versus ceiling conversation. I think this is a perfect player to talk about it with, because AD Mitchell has consistently been targeted since he's been on the Jets. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I should have grabbed them, but he's a consistent target earner. Even in his down weeks, he's being targeted. So the targets are going to be there. He should have a floor off of those. But I see with the lack of single high coverage and the fact that Brady Cook is playing quarterback and that hasn't been good for anybody, I see a non-existent ceiling for AD Mitchell. And as I'm saying that, he's probably going to go off for 200 yards, because that's just what I see. Every time we say he's going to suck, he goes off, and every time we say he's going to go off, he sucks. And so it's just the game that we play with AD Mitchell. But so that the one pause I have is the fact that the expectation, at least, is that the Bills' top corners won't be on the field. But I don't think that's going to change the scheme looks they're going to throw at the Jets. And so I'm still confident on that end. And so given the matchup that Mitchell has in front of him, the poor quarterback play he has to rely on, and his struggles against the schemed looks that he should see this week, he's a pass for me at the wide receiver 32 spot that he has in the ECR.
I love how you broke it down into favorable coverages and how the 2nd lowest in single high and the 2nd highest in double, that I like that. I like that a lot. And to your point, and you were joking about it to a certain degree, like all these reasons why not to go with AD Mitchell, but then watch you have, that extremes, right? But again, this is kind of the gamble you take, right? Tip in week 18. These are things where it's just like, You can put all the arguments together, but Week 18, it's its own entity in the world of fantasy football.
Yes.
It's a very unpredictable scenario, but
you are literally looking at players who may never touch a football ever again after this. Like, but they will be special. They will end up, winning you a league, and then next year get cut, or unfortunately something happened, they get injured or whatever, and never play again. Like we've seen it happen.
Samir White.
There you go.
It's funny.
Another Raider guy. Hold on, man. What's up with the Raider slander today? Like, I need you guys to understand. Like, I'm not in a good spot with that. Like,
that's just what I thought of. I don't know.
It's funny. Week 17 nowadays is where superstar legacy games happen.
Mm-hmm.
And Tip, to your point, Week 18 is where players we may never hear of again may have their legacy game.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That is very crazy. Rhett, why don't you take us to your pass play for Week 18?
Man, look, I'm just gonna go, and there's a theme with me this week, and really throughout the season. When it comes to certain guys throughout the year, I think I like to liken myself to Silky Johnson, who you might know as the 2004 Player Hater of the Year from Chappelle's Show. Aiden, you don't get that reference because you're too young, but it's fine.
Great reference.
I love it.
Should I look it up?
And you absolutely should after the show.
You should watch season 2 and just enjoy it. Yeah.
But no, man, when it comes to I feel perfectly comfortable being the Silky Johnson level hater of Justin Jefferson heading into Week 18 and really throughout 2025. Because, man, we're looking at a guy that everything lines up, and we should be seeing another Justin Jefferson season. He's top 10 in targets. He's had 130 targets this season. He's had nearly a 30% target share. He's had a 25% red zone target share. Like, he's had a 96% snap share. That's 4th amongst the wide receiver position. He's 13th in air yards. He's 9th in air yard share. Like, that's a great comment.
That's solid. I had to go ahead and put that up there while you were talking.
But, like, at the same time, we're just going to call a spade, and the Vikings quarterback situation has kind of been awful this season. Like, the best they've given you has been J.J. McCarthy against bad teams. I don't know if you guys know this about the Green Bay Packers. They're not a bad team at all. So as I'm sitting here this week, and I know what Justin Jefferson should be, and I know what Green Bay does do, and I know that with Justin Jefferson, you mentioned some coverage stuff. Green Bay loves to limit those explosive plays. They rank 7th in top 7 in explosive pass rate allowed, and they like to force quarterbacks into those underneath throws. And on top of that, Jefferson sees double coverage on 35% of routes against zone-heavy teams, which the Packers like to live inside of that zone. So, in the best case with a Justin Jefferson, you're looking at what this week if he balls out? Is it 7 catches, 78 yards? Is that the type of week we're looking for? And in Week 18, fine. Like, you're sitting here if you're in a full PPR format and it gives you 15 points, great. But with that sort of guy, one of the things we've kind of loved to hang the hat on with him all year has been, throughout his career, has been those explosive plays. He's 4th in unrealized air yards this year with 822. He's only got 2 total touchdowns. His expected fantasy points versus actual fantasy points, 11.4 versus 12.9. He's underachieved. He's 33rd in first downs per route run. He's 28th in yards per route run at 1.91. If we adjust that formation, it goes down to 1.52 yards per route run. And he's not separating very well either. I mean, his win rate against man coverage is 42nd in the league. He only wins on 23.6% of man snaps. And it's not that much better against zone when he only wins on 27.6%. So all this to say, if we're looking for a guy if we're looking for that guy, if we're looking for Justin Jefferson, wait till 2026 for Justin Jefferson because he ain't here this year. He's poofed. He's pieced out. He's already in Tahiti doing whatever it is that he's going to do during the offseason.
But what my question is, what has and look, I understand you can give and put the tag on Justin Jefferson as being quarterback proof, and I mean he's close to 1,000 yards. He might even get it this weekend. But like, what gives you the confidence going into next year with this? Because this could be something that could be cyclical, and if it, man, and you just don't want a talent like Justin Jefferson to start getting down, and if that happens, and you've already seen the frustration, then he starts to mouth off and wants to be, it can get really ugly. So you don't want that. But what gives you the confidence for him next year, though? Like, I don't have any confidence right now.
No, I agree with you completely. And I'm just saying that, like, regardless of what happens, this year is a wash.
Right.
But we know this much. We know we have a whole offseason to play out. Maybe they stick with J.J. McCarthy. Maybe they go a different direction in free agency. We don't know what happens, but I do know this. Next year, draft season is going to roll around in redraft leagues. Somebody is going to see Justin Jefferson's name in the third round, and they're going to click draft.
Yeah,
that's what it is. Like,
he has no business making it that deep.
He'll be a value because of that.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. If he's in the third round, I'll take
but,
it. So,
but
what-
if you get him in the second round,
I'll take
it's
him in the
almost
second.
but to me, if you get him in the second round, I don't want him to be my first wide receiver. That if I get him in the second round, then I went wide receiver or I went tight end early, like quarterback maybe, but I wouldn't do that even in a super flex. But I don't want him to be my number one wide receiver.
Targets are a big. Whenever it comes to the wide receiver position, there's number one. I think you should always trust the talent of the player, and then number two, if they're still getting the target share, I still think that there's a place to draft them. Like you guys think Chris Olave has had incredible quarterback play this year?
No.
But he's getting a shit ton of targets, and he's like a top 10 receiver, right? Like two years ago, was Malik Neighbors really getting great quarterback play? No. But on a per game basis, when he was out there, he was a top 5 wide receiver. You know what I mean? Like, these guys that are elite talents at the position, the wide receiver position is very volatile. There's going to be down weeks, even down years at times, based on the situation around him and things like that. But at the end of the day, it typically pays off more to rely on target share and player talent than it is anything else, in my opinion. That's how I look at the wide receiver position. Is, do I believe you truly are a talented player? I think that's an obvious yes for Justin Jefferson. And then is the path for targets there for you? It's always there for Justin Jefferson. And so, like, for me, this is just creating nothing but opportunity to get him at a discount next year. Like, if Justin Jefferson is a mid to late second round pick next year, I'm going to have him in as many leagues as humanly possible, because it's just, I don't believe a player that talented. Like, he was on a path to be one of the best players, one of the best receivers in NFL history, like, based on his trajectory the first few years of his career. And if it was 1 year that he had a good year, fine. But you can't fake multiple years of elite production. And so I think it'll all even itself out next year. As far as Week 18 goes, I wanted to push back because Green Bay, like, earlier in the year, Green Bay was tough. But since they really lost their pass rush, the secondary has really started to struggle. And they've actually been the 4th best matchup for fantasy receivers over the last 5 weeks. And so I wanted to push back on the Justin Jefferson call for this week because he has a good matchup. But I can't even really feel good about doing that because he had a good matchup against Detroit last week. They're a great matchup for receivers. He was the wide receiver 52. He had a great matchup against Dallas in week 15. He was the wide receiver 77. He had the Washington was like the best matchup for fantasy receivers the week before that. In week 14, he was wide receiver 81. So
all right, let's and while we're at it, let's run those numbers. Sure,
matchups, but
yeah, and in those numbers you're talking about, by the way, this is actually, let's run it back because we can run it back to Green Bay in week 12. It was 4 catches for 48 yards, wide receiver 37. 8.8 fantasy points according to Player Profiler in full PPR. And over these past 4 weeks, which you're talking about, which was Washington, Dallas, New York, and Detroit. 2 catches, 11 yards. 2 catches, 22 yards. Against the Giants, he went 6 for 85, which is wide receiver 20 that week, which was solid.
Yeah.
And then last week, 4 catches for 30 yards. So, I mean, it's a lot more missed than hit right now, which is really concerning and really scary, especially if you're playing in championship week 2, Electric Boogaloo. I mean, it is what it is.
Part 2.
I'm excited for everything next year, but I'm with you on being concerned about. But I guess draft price dependent. But if we're talking about late second, third round pick, like sign me up. But for week 18, I'm with you. I am nervous.
To Tip's point, and I think to a lot of what you guys are talking about, all this boils down to one statement, and I will expand on it. Justin Jefferson is not in a Devontae Adams situation. And what do I mean by that? You go back to 2017, coincidentally against the Minnesota Vikings, Aaron Rodgers breaks his shoulder. He is out. Some are saying he may be gone for the entire season. Some he may come back if the Packers are in a position to make the playoffs. And so due to the Green Bay Packers they turned to Brett Huntley, the backup quarterback, to help lead this offense. And Devontae Adams went from being somebody who in half PPR was giving you in the high teens to being somebody who was giving you consistent 12s, maybe a spike 13 or 14 here and there per week. But you knew it was a I remember this very well because I had Aaron Rodgers stashed on my IR spot. It is a good story though. It was against the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. Brett Hundley led a overtime game for the Packers. They won it on a Devontae Adams walk-off touchdown. And you knew after that happened that his production would return. Why? Because Aaron Rodgers was coming back next week. And in fact, that is exactly what happened. Both Aaron Rodgers and him had great fantasy performances. I don't know, to Tip's point, what Justin Jefferson is walking back into. We talked about the Tyler Shuck situation about as far as this Tyler, as Chris Olave getting good quarterback play. And like the very definition of anomaly should have Tyler Shuck's picture next to it in the dictionary. You know what I mean? Like, how often does a bad quarterback situation actually, Spencer Rattler, was he making Chris Olave a good wide receiver for fantasy? Like,
he
was he really? Was he a top 10 wide receiver?
Olave's been awesome all year.
Was up there.
Yeah, Olave's been top 12 all year.
Well, then shit, man, I just don't know. And it's hard for me to not know. It's hard for me to invest a first round pick or even a second round pick in drafts next year in a lot of I don't knows. Like, I feel like at those points in your drafts, you want more certainty than you want uncertainty. So again, it's, to what we were saying last week, it was not a situation of don't draft these players, but when to draft them when they fall into a value range, like a third round.
I think a lot
value.
of it comes down to like who you are from a draft philosophy standpoint too. Like, are you a guy that wants to play it safe and take someone that feels like more of a sure thing, or are you willing to take a gamble on the high risk but also high upside type of players, the ones that have wider range of outcomes? I think that a lot of that comes down to like everybody's cool with taking shots on the high range of outcome guys in the mid to late rounds, but are you willing to take a shot on the high range of outcome guy in the second round? And so I think a lot of it comes down to how safe you want to play in your drafts too, and who you are as a drafter. I think that a lot of that comes down to just your draft tendencies as a fantasy player.
Now, I will say, when we go back to when J.J. McCarthy came back from injury earlier this season, wasn't he passing to tight ends more than wide receivers? Wasn't there like a clear discrepancy?
Yeah, it was tight ends and Jalen Naylor was basically
right.
Jalen Naylor.
Right. And it wasn't until Brosmer came on that Justin Jefferson finally got thrown a touchdown
most
pass.
of Jefferson's good games came earlier this year with Carson Wentz.
Yeah, exactly.
Out of all people.
So that is a very controversial name, Justin Jefferson, heading into this week. And so I could definitely see where the pass option comes into play here. Aiden, round us out on passes for week 18.
So sitting at wide receiver 22 in ECR currently at the moment, I have Jalen Waddle of the Miami Dolphins at the New England Patriots. This is very simple. Yeah. This is very simple. With Quinn Ewers, this offense isn't going to take many chances. There's probably going to be a few too many turnovers, and it's week 18. So they probably want to see what they have in Quinn Ewers, but that doesn't necessarily translate to like many end zone opportunities because they're not going to be even close to there. So this is a weird situation. Number one, Waddle, because he's literally the only option they have in the passing game, not named Devon Achane there. And he's probably going to be shadowed by Christian Gonzalez, who's, I'd say, one of the elite shutdown corners in the NFL right now and as a whole overall. And number two, there's just not any ceiling here to be had. But also, on the other end of the spectrum, if you will, I don't think there's much of a floor either. It could bottom out very quickly, in my opinion, here, unfortunately.
Might be the guy Tip was talking about earlier, Theo Weiss. He might pop off.
100 yards again.
Yeah, who knows? But no, I'm with you. I think that the fact that New England has something to play for this week, and the secondary and the secondary that they have, it's gonna be a tough day for Waddle. I'd be nervous as well. I think his spot in the ECR is a little high this week.
Yeah. All right, folks. So that's going to do it for Smash or Pass for our pass plays this week. Aiden's taking Jalen Waddle. Drew's taking Adonai Mitchell. And Rhett is taking not Devontae Adams, a.k.a. Justin Jefferson. Before we get to our last segment here, let's talk about what it is. We've been doing this since the beginning of the fantasy playoffs. We're giving you a player that ranks outside the top 100 flex plays in Fantasy Pros Week 18 rankings. And, of course, we're talking about our very own segment we like to call Pop or Flop. Anywho, we had somebody in the chat. We had Akeem in the chat mention a name that we're going to be discussing. More importantly, Aiden, you're going to be discussing as a player who could pop off this week in Week 18. Who do you got?
Yeah, I have Tank Bigsby versus the Washington Commanders. Nick Sirianni and the Eagles have already mentioned way earlier in the week that they're sitting Jalen Hurts and important starters. So Hurts, Devontae Smith, Adrian Saquon, So all the starters are out. So who's the true handcuff here all year? It's been Tank Bigsby. Will Shipley has basically been relegated to returner only and nothing else. And when Tank Bigsby has been in there, salting games away for the clock game, if you will, he's gotten in the end zone a few times here and there. And Tank Bigsby has shown when he was in the Jaguars last year and in years past as well that he can handle volume. And sorry, Jorge, but they're facing the Washington Commanders, who are just totally checked out at this point. And their run defense is literally towards the bottom of the league. So I'm going to go with Tank Bigsby, who is going to lead the Eagles backfield here. Actually, probably be the only ball carrier here for the Eagles. So this is a strict volume play. But
Aiden, 1 second. Hey, Tip, we know you got to head out. Thank you very much for joining us here on our last episode of 14 Claims.
This was great.
Thanks so much. We appreciate you, man.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Peace, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you, man.
All right, Aiden, you had more to add for Tank Bigsby?
Yeah, I was just saying this is volume play. They're going to rest starters. They're going to be near the goal line a lot because the Commanders' run defense is towards the bottom of the league. So that's basically my, whole spiel on this. Tank Bigsby will be the lead back and probably the only ball carrier here.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Like if they're not gonna play their starters, the Eagles already like to run the ball. And so if their starting
doesn't matter,
going to be in, they're certainly going to want to run the ball. And
Tanner McKee, so.
Yeah, Washington's been the third best matchup, only behind the Cardinals and the Jets over the last 5 weeks. So, yeah, there's a lot of reasons to be excited about Tank Bigsby.
Well, Drew, give us somebody else to be excited about as a pop play for Week 18.
Yeah, I mean, if you need a dart throw at tight end this week, I think you can do worse than Chigaquanko. Cam Ward he started to play a little bit better down the stretch of his rookie season, and nobody's really been benefiting from that more than Chig has. Over the last 3 weeks, he leads all Titans pass catchers with a 21.6% target share and a 28.6% first read percentage. And then as far as the matchup goes against Jacksonville, they've been more middle of the road. They've been the 13th. They've been 13th against tight ends over the last 8 weeks, but whenever it comes to matchups against the tight end position, I'm a little bit less concerned as long as the tight end in question is as involved as Chig has been for the Titans passing offense, and as long as they're not playing against one of like the true elite lockdown defenses against tight ends like the Eagles or the Ravens or the Bills. Like if we're not talking about one of those elite matchups, the middle of the road tight end matchups don't scare me as much because a lot of that really just comes down to to who have you played and did they score a touchdown or not. So even though it's not the best matchup in the world, it's good enough to where I'm still intrigued in Chig as a dart throw tight end option this week, especially considering how underwhelming the Titans receivers continue to be and how involved he's been over the last month in the Titans offense. So he tight end 15. He's well beyond the top 100 in the flex rankings. Give me Chig as a pop or flop for week 18.
All right. And Mr. Manuel, Mr. Rhett, please round us out here. Pop and flop. Who you got week 18?
So last week I made a risky call and it didn't work out. So we know who I am. Are we gonna just rest on our laurels
and
run away from it?
It's A.D. Mitchell, isn't it?
Or are we gonna run it the hell back with Rocket Sanders, baby? Let's do it. Let's run it back with Rocket Sanders. All right, so
we are.
We're back, baby. We're so freaking back, and you know why we're back, Aiden?
No.
The Cincinnati freaking Bengals is why we're back, baby.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Valid.
So I understand that Rocket Sanders only played 41% of snaps last week, split time with Dylan Sampson.
Yeah.
8 carries for 21 yards. Like, not a great turnout for him. I think he was the ECR running back 42 or something last week. He finished, I believe, as a running back 47.
Yep.
Here's the good news for us, Aiden. The stock is lower this week, baby. The stock he is at the ECR running back 49. So if we have another week like we did last week, guess what?
2 spots higher.
We're back in the money, baby. We're back in the money with Rocket Sanders. The touchdown upside is still there. The touchdown upside is still there if they get him around the goal line. We know Shedeur Sanders isn't going to be very effective passing the ball, even against the Bengals. I mean, there are a lot of positive situations that let's just have some fun. It's week 18. Like, you're looking for some upside. Like, we play this game for fun at the end of the day.
No doubt.
And if you're taking yourself too seriously while you're playing fantasy football, then let's be honest, you probably shouldn't be counting the money anywhere if you're not having fun in the process. So let's run it back with Rocket Sanders. Let's go.
And how cool would it be to win a week 18 championship with a guy named Rocket? Like, it really doesn't.
Hell yeah.
How bad do you need to be though to be in the starting position of Rocket?
Well, I mean, look, with week 18, who knows, man?
I mean, maybe we have A.D. Mitchell out there. So.
Yeah. Somebody's going to start A.D. Mitchell this week, 100%. So one other thing I wanted to throw out there, we probably should have talked about it at the beginning of the show. So just some bonus content for those of you that chose to stick around for the end of the show here. Graham Barfield at Graham Barfield. He's the co-owner of Fantasy Points. He put out a great tweet that whether you're in a week 18 championship or if you're just like trying to figure out who you should focus on for DFS plays, whatever the case may be, he has a incredible week 18 cheat sheet that shows who's already announced they're resting their starters, who's eliminated from the playoffs, but the starters are still expected to play, who is completely eliminated from the playoffs and just has no motivation for this week, who is tanking. Like, he has laid it all out in a very easily digestible format with the over-unders for each week, so you can also understand which games have the most pop potential and which games are expected to be a little bit more duds. So this was too good of a resource for me not to mention, or for me not to at least put out there for the folks that are still hanging out with us. So Graham Barfield, co-owner of Fantasy Points at Graham Barfield, he has this. I think this is the top tweet on his page right now. If you're building your DFS lineups, or if you're trying to set your Week 18 lineup and you're not sure who's resting their starters, who isn't. It looks like we have confirmed that the Packers, Chargers, Bills, Eagles are completely resting their starters. And then there's some muddy waters that you have to deal with outside of that. And so I felt like that deserves some airtime before we got out of here this week too.
Absolutely. That is so clutch, Drew. And again, Graham Barfield does such great work in the fantasy space. And
yeah, he does.
Obviously, check out his work over at Fantasy Points. Gentlemen, year after year after year, you come to me and you're like, you know what, we're doing week 18, and I'm like, okay, have fun. And you know, this is my first time doing week 18 with you all, and I got to be honest with you, you all bring it with all the research, all the meticulousness, the attention to detail. You know, people who are playing in week 18, they're going to watch this show or they're going to listen to this podcast, and they're going to be like, damn it, I'm glad I tuned into Fourth and Frames. And so congratulations. This is me bow down to you all with all the great work that you all do. So, and it was, of course, great having Tip come on and join us for a little bit here.
Yeah, that was so cool.
Well, you guys were talking. I DM'd him and I'm like, hey, if you want to hop in, go
just
right
to
ahead.
get mad at Rat one more time.
Exactly. As far as before we get out of here, let's go around the frames and any last words for the official end of anyone's fantasy football season. Rhett, what do you got to say to people out there playing Week 18?
First off, I am sorry your commissioner is a terrorist. Is what I'd like to say. But besides that, I mean, best of luck to everybody. I mean, thank you for rocking with us all season long. I mean, it's a long journey. We do this it's for the love of the game. I know that sounds stereotypical. I know that sounds silly, but I mean,
it's the truth.
We come here every Wednesday night at 9:00 simply because we love hanging out with each other and we love talking ball. We just love giving you guys some information that you might not otherwise get. So, I mean, I'm blessed to do this every week for the past 3 years during the NFL football season. Let's run it back for year 4. Y'all get some chips. Y'all get some money. Y'all get some rings this week, whatever it is. And most importantly, if you're playing fantasy ball, just have fun. God, that's the name of the game at the end of the day.
What about you, Drew?
I echo everything that Rhett said. I'll have at least my first finalized edition of the Week 18 ranking should be live by tomorrow at the latest. And then, we'll update those. I'll update them Saturday morning, update them again Sunday morning. The first game didn't even kick off till Saturday this week. So a little bit more time to give those rankings some tender love or care, which thankfully I'm probably going to need it given how crazy the week is. So, those will be live on the Fantasy and Frames website. The first edition should be live by tomorrow at the latest, and then they'll get updated all the way through the weekend. Week 18 version of the wide receiver cornerback matchup report for Fantasy Alarm should be live by Saturday morning as well. So to help you guys out for, whether it's DFS or setting your lineups for Week 18, whatever the case may be. So make sure that I'll tweet that out whenever it's live, but then make sure to check out the Fantasy and Frames website where you can find our Week 18 rankings if you're struggling with any start sit decisions, anything like that.
All right. And Aiden, what do you got for the folks?
Yeah, I just want to say, if you did this since September, thank you to each and every one of you out there for consuming and reading my weekly waiver wire article every Monday/Tuesday on the site. It truly meant the world to me. And I just want to say I hope I pushed all of you over the edge and could win a championship with kind of my weekly waiver wire talk.
Crushed it all season, man. Did a great job.
Thank you. That means a lot.
Right with plays and fades and
yep.
Everybody who's new to the Fourth and Frames podcast, subscribe to wherever you listen to podcasts to the Fourth and Frames podcast, because these guys, as long as they've been here at Fantasy and Frames, they don't stop. I literally have to say, hey, maybe just take a week and recharge. It's like, no, we're not going to take a week. We're going to keep going. And it's like, okay. And so they're involved in Fantasy and Frames content, whether it's Redraft, whether it's Fourth and Frames, whether it's other shows or whatnot. I mean, we as a family here at Fantasy and Frames, we like talking shop, and you're just stuck with us. So deal with it. Just speaking Fourth and
of
Frames
that
is taking a break, though, right?
Yes. Speaking of that, from content purposes, we've got one more show next week. We talked about how accountability is a big piece of what we do. So we're going to revisit our calls from this preseason, where we were right, where we were wrong, what we learned, that kind of thing. We're going to revisit all that, and then take a slight look ahead into what 2026 might bring, like kind of a what did we learn and what do we expect moving forward show next week. And then after our show next week, we will take a break until around mid-March, whenever free agency kicks off, because there's not a lot to talk about from a redraft standpoint. Once Week 18 is over, until free agency kicks off, there's not a lot to talk about. But even though there might not be a lot to talk about from a redraft standpoint, Happy New Year, Philip. Appreciate you coming in and hanging out with us. Even though there's not a lot to talk about from a redraft standpoint, you still need to be tuned into the Fantasy and Frames YouTube channel, because we've got Dynasty content as well. That's really is going to pick up here as we get going. So we appreciate all of the support for the redraft content, but just because redraft stops doesn't mean the content stops. We still got the Dynasty content coming too. But as far as Fourth and Frames goes, we will disappear from your feed from a few months after next week, but then we'll be back in March.
As far as the immediate content here at Fantasy and Frames, we're not leaving yet just because fantasy football season is over. Starting next week, we will be putting out information regarding a fantasy playoff contest that we'll be taking part in, that we'll be sending out invites to the people over on Twitter and our social media platforms to join us. The show, we will actually have we'll bring back the Fantasy and Frames draft show Thursday nights going forward throughout the playoffs all the way up through the Super Bowl, except next week we'll be doing it on Friday night. And then afterwards it'll be Thursday nights going forward. You should check that around 9 p.m. Eastern. Time to be determined, but we're not leaving you just yet. A bunch of us here across multiple shows and aspects and departments, if you will, here at Fantasy and Frames will be taking part in that. And like I said, there's always stuff to talk about, and we all love talking about it. So, gentlemen, thank you very much for letting me fill in for the host tonight, and I appreciate you all. Great work, everybody. Everybody out there who's watching, listening, has been supporting Fantasy and Frames. We love you. Thank you so much. But the show keeps going. The show goes on. And so the guys will be back next week on Fourth and Frames. Again, head over to fantasyandframes.com. Check out all of our rankings that'll be going up for week 18, as Drew mentioned earlier. So for Drew, for Aiden, for Rhett, I'm Jorge. You all have a happy New Year.